Hi guys, Sam here from Landscape Plus. Today we are going to take a quick look at two of our most common pipe types when using irrigation. We have got an LDPE pipe and an MDPE pipe. Now those two look pretty similar and it's really difficult for our team if someone's on site and they don't know which pipe they're using. So first and foremost, I just want to explain how you tell the difference between the two. One way of looking at it is actually the sort of strength of the pipe. So if you squeeze them, you can see that we can move the LDP pipe, but the MDP pipe is really, really strong. That one is a low density polyethylene, whereas the MDP is a medium density. You also get HDP, which is high density. Another way of looking is that the actual wall thickness of the two is slightly different. So the MDP you can see has got a slightly thicker wall, whereas the LDP is slightly thinner, not a huge amount, but yeah, a little bit of difference there. Another way of telling is actually if you measure the pipework itself, the LDPE pipe is, this one in particular, is a 19mm internal diameter, whereas the MD is a 25mm external diameter. But with the wall thickness difference, you can just about tell the difference between the two if you pop a tape measure over them. So that's a couple of ways to tell the difference between the two. Typically, we would be using the LDPE pipe on above surface irrigation, whereas the MDP is below surface. That's just because it'll tend not to compress, kink or block quite as easily if it gets something sort of pushing down on the pipe. You can use LDPE below surface, but it's probably a safe option to use the MDP. So what we want to look at today is how you would join both of these pipes, and that is from a fresh install, but also if you get a pipe damaged within the garden that you need to repair it. So let's look at the LD first. Now, when you're using an LDPE pipe, we always use barbed fittings. So this one's a single barbed nut and tail, we would call it, so a threaded inlet there, and then just a barbed outlet. So what you need to do is make sure that one is pushed all the way into your pipe, but you also want to make sure, it's worth noting, that your pipe has got a nice clean cut on the edge of it. We'll show you in a moment on the MD what happens if that isn't the case. But yeah, you want to get that pushed all the way home so that your tail is as far down into the pipework as possible. But before you do that, you need to make sure you've got one of these, which is a ratchet clamp over the pipe. Now, obviously, if that pipe is going off into an irrigation system, you need to make sure you slide that over first, then you pop your tail in there, and then you need to really tighten that ratchet clamp up. I always recommend to people that you get a set of water pump pliers and really push that home. Doing it with your fingers probably isn't quite tight enough. And you just need to make sure that your ratchet clamp is all the way past the barb so that when the water pressure sort of pushes, that can't come past that one. So that is how you would joint an LDPE pipe. If you've got a damaged section, you can get just straight inline joiners, which are much the same as this, just with two barbs back to back. Cut the section out, get rid of the damaged piece of pipe, 2 of the joiners, 4 of the ratchet clamps, repair the piece of pipe. Nice and easy. With the MDPE pipe, now we've purposely cut this with a saw a moment ago, just to show that if you cut it with something that you shouldn't really be using on pipe, you end up with all these little bits of pipe, you end up with quite a rough cut, and the likelihood of it sealing long term is pretty slim. Whereas on this end, we've used just a set of pipe cutters, say ratchet down, make sure that it stays nice and straight within them, and it gives a nice clean cut all the way through, so you get a nice clean cut of pipe. With MDP, you've got 2 typical ways of joining it. You've got a compression fitting, so that one just loosens off, pushes into the pipe, and then you tighten that one back up. Or you have my personal favorite, which is a push fit. Now these are slightly more expensive, but the seal that you're going to get is kind of guaranteeing you're not getting any leaks. And in my opinion, when you're burying a pipe underground, I'd rather pay a couple of pounds more and ensure it's not going to leak. A couple of tools to sort of show you with those ones. If you're using the compression fitting, you get one of these tools just to make sure, first of all, that if you need to take a fitting off, you can really ratchet that to loosen it off, but also that relies on you tightening it up really, really well to be watertight. So having that just helps a little bit. And that is when it's really important to use one of these, which is a pipe liner. So before you do your joint, pop that one in there. All that's doing is making sure that the pipe can't be compressed. So at the point that you really tighten that one up, it's biting into the pipe rather than simply squashing it. The same applies when you've got a push fit fitting, you push that one straight into there. A little tip for you on that one is if you look on the side of a plastron fitting, there will be a line with an arrow on there. So what I would always recommend is before you put your fitting into there, line it up with the side of the fitting there, grab yourself a pen and mark on the pipework where that needs to go to make sure that it's all the way home, because there's a couple of seals within this fitting. So it's quite easy to think that you've pushed it far enough in, and it's actually about 1 centimetre short. So if you mark your pipe by the side of it, with it lined up with the bit that you need to stop at, it guarantees you're going to push it far enough. If you ever need to go between the two pipes, then you'd use a simple threaded fitting straight into there, and then you can get your MDPE into one side, LDPE into the other side, and you can go between the two really, really easily. Any questions or anything like that, feel free to give our team a quick call, and I'm sure we'll be more than happy to help.